Hey, this is Gerald Rogers. Today we're talking about the Soul Script personality test and what it means to be an Oracle. If you haven't taken the test yet, make sure you watch the first video where we go over the Soul Script personality test. But today we're digging deep into the personality archetype that we call the Oracle. Now, what is the Oracle? The Oracle is an incredible personality type. If you have the strength of an Oracle, you'll recognize this as I describe it. The Oracle personality type, they are very structured and detailed. They're the type of people that they love the systems and the organization. These are the people that are so great about managing the step-by-step process of things. They're driven by consistency and predictability. For them, for the Oracle, they love when the structure tells them exactly what to expect. Now with that, one of the things that drives and motivates the Oracle is this desire for perfection. That desire for perfection drives them to figure out how things work. You know, without the Oracles, our world would be a very messy place, because the Oracles are the ones that are the order creators and the system keepers, right? So they're very rule driven. They're very objective based. They tend to see the world in black and white. So you'll recognize an Oracle because they tend to have a very still energy, but they're also very, very, very deep thinkers. They're very analytical as they approach life. And they love being able to have budgets. They love being able to schedule their time. They love being able to have this very efficient and predictable way to do it. So those are some of the strengths of the Oracle. Now, with every personality type, there's what we call the light, which is their strengths, and the shadow, which is the things that they tend to struggle with. So I want to make sure as we talk about the Oracle, we also address the areas where they might struggle and have challenges, both in terms of their own experience with life and also how they interact with others. Because by understanding this, if you're an Oracle, it will give you some tools or some things to focus on that might be really helpful. And if you happen to be in a relationship with an Oracle, or if you happen to be, working with someone that's an Oracle, you'll know how to actually communicate with them in their language. So in regards to challenges of the Oracle, here's some things that you might struggle with if you have this as your core personality type. Oracles, because they're so analytical and detailed, they tend to struggle when they don't have all the information. They love information, they love details, they love doing research. And when they don't have those details, it's sometimes hard for the Oracle to make a decision. And sometimes, in life and business, we don't have all the answers. And it requires this leap of faith, which is really, really, really hard for the Oracle type, because they just want to know that they have all the answers. They want to know how it's going to work out. And they want to have that game plan. They want to have that big picture blueprint so that when they start moving forward, they know where it's going. But you can imagine how difficult that is in business or in relationships when those details aren't there. So because of that, oftentimes the Oracle personality type gets stuck in what we call paralysis by analysis. I just need a little more information. I just need a little more details. I just need to think about it a little bit more. I need to plan a little bit more. So this is really important to understand, that Oracles have a tendency to get stuck if they don't have all the details or all the information. And because they have such a strong need to be right, a strong desire to do things the way that they're supposed to do them, sometimes Oracles have the tendency to be a little bit, how shall we say, judgmental, right? When other people aren't doing things the exact way that they think they should, sometimes they can be very judgmental on others. Why? Because they're extremely judgmental and harsh on themselves. Another area where they sometimes struggle, because of their black and white thinking, they have a tendency to get stuck with in-the-box thinking. And when challenges and problems arise, sometimes the Oracle struggles with being able to think outside the box and create a new game plan, or be able to take, shall we say, a blank canvas and create something with it. They're much better with a paint by numbers system where they know exactly what they should do. If they don't have that, sometimes they feel overwhelmed and stressed. Now, another aspect of the Oracle personality is because they have the tendency to be very still, sometimes other people have a hard time connecting with the Oracle because the Oracle is very intellectual and they're very head energy. They think a lot in their head. Sometimes they're not super expressive in their emotion, and so they tend to be very reserved, which makes other people sometimes perceive that the oracles don't care, which isn't true at all, because the reality is oracles are some of the most empathic and deepest feelers, but they're kind of the embodiment of the analogy that says still waters run deep. They think so deeply, they feel so deeply, but they don't always express it on the surface. Oracles are deeply, deeply loyal, but sometimes they take a while to get to know because they tend to just take time before they really trust someone. But once you actually get in with an oracle and they like fully trust you, then you are in and they are close and they are loyal in who they are. And if you ever do something to upset an oracle, it's easy for you to get pushed out, and it's hard for them to sometimes bring people back in. So those are some of the areas of challenge for the oracles, and the antidote for that, some areas of practice for the oracle, is if the oracles can practice being easier on themselves and learning how to take action without necessarily knowing where it's going to go. Just practicing taking the risk of moving forward and just trusting that they'll figure it out. Because the only way to be great at anything is to be really bad at it at first, which is hard for the oracle because they want to be seen as having it all together. But that's the gift. That's like the path for the oracle is to practice taking action and implementing even before you have all the right answers, and being a little more patient with the other personality types who might not be as smart or as analytical or as detailed, who don't see the world the way that you do. So in terms of what drives and motivates the oracle, if you're speaking with an oracle and you want to influence them in terms of either investing or buying what you're offering or being able to get them to do something, here's a couple things that are going to be important for the oracle. Number one, they need details. They need details. They want to understand how things work, why they work, why it's important, why they need to act now. They want, the more details they get, the better. They want time to get their questions answered, and you cannot rush an oracle to make a decision. The more pressure, the more you push them to make a decision now, the more they're going to resist and be resentful. So you just need to allow them to take the time that they need to process, to think, to ask the questions. And when they make a decision, they're really solid in that decision. But what's going to motivate them is a sense of order, a sense of systems, a sense of understanding that this is a path to help them get the result that they want, and for them to know that there's a specific blueprint. So the final thing we're going to share about the oracle is oracles, for each of these different personality types, they're represented by different elements of the earth. So water, wind, fire, and earth. So of these, the oracle represents the earth energy. It's very stable and sure. It's strong. It's like that rock that you can build on. You know, without the oracle, we wouldn't have buildings, we wouldn't have houses, we wouldn't have cars, we wouldn't have all of these things that require that engineer type mind to put it together. And likewise, oracles tend to be great at the details and the tasks. They tend to be amazing CEOs and managers because they love following the systems. And they also tend to be great at things like accounting and other things that require a lot of mental energy to track details and follow through and to make sure things that are done. So thank heavens we have oracles. If you're an oracle and that's your strength, your gift, thank you so much for helping put order to this world and helping make it a better place. And if you have an oracle in your life, if you're not an oracle, then you're lucky to have them. Just know that understanding them is like anything. Like, they're going to have their perspective. And for an oracle, sometimes they they might tend to shut down your ideas if it feels crazy, if it feels risky, but that doesn't mean it's a bad idea. It just means they need time to think. So listen to the oracle, get them to share their wisdom and insight with you, and it will make your idea a better one. So with that, if you're an oracle, thank you. For everyone else, watch the next videos to see and understand your personality archetype.